Hello, you are watching the Crazy Boy 182 YouTube channel, and today we are fulfilling an annual tradition. Today we will be wrapping my car in 1,100 Christmas lights, 900 more than last year, but this year the car will remain functional. Last year it was Enzo's responsibility to carry the lights, the Polo Express, but this year we're taking it up a notch and we're using the new arrival Money Pit for this job. You've seen everybody else's take on this challenge, now it's time to see mine. Okay, so the first task, and arguably the most difficult task, was trying to work out how we were going to get the battery box from the inside of the car to the outside, but eventually we managed it after about 10 minutes and an ungodly amount of string, and yeah, great success, nothing's broken. What you're witnessing here is the first part of a big project. Want to know how I did it? Well, allow me to explain. So the biggest point of this was to take away the bad points from last year and improve them and come up with something just a little bit better, looks better, and is just better in general in every aspect. So obviously last year we had the battery boxes on the outside of the car. They got covered in water and it was a bit dangerous. Wasn't a great idea. We had to cover them over. This didn't really work. So this year, obviously, as I've shown you, I've put it in the car, and we're going to try and do our best to sort of waterproof and English weatherproof this entire design. Now actually trying to route the cable from the inside of the car to the outside where the bulbs are actually quite close to the box was probably the hardest bit, and it took longer than I'd like to admit. To be honest, it probably took longer to do that than it did to actually stick these lights onto the car, but I have to say the result and what we got out the end of it did definitely make this whole process worth it. Now, as you can see from the close-up here, what I'm doing is I'm sticking a piece of masking tape every 2 or so bulbs, so it's even, but it's not using too much masking tape, and obviously it reduces the risk of us damaging the paintwork, because we don't want too much masking tape on there because of the residue. And after last year, I learned some of it doesn't come off, and I had some on there in July. We did this in December. So, yeah. We're just trying to play it a little bit safe, and I decided I had a little bit left over, and I wanted to cover the wing mirror because I thought that would be quite cool, because then we could have some lights, and it did work quite well because one bulb is up against the side repeater and it lights up blue every time that bulb goes blue, and then obviously we're going to route it all the way back down. It's going to look absolutely wonderful. One goal I had for this is that I didn't want to have any loose ends, so as you can see I've gone back to the start and overlapped it, because last year obviously we sort of didn't cover the whole car, and I didn't want this one to look like you could see the end point or there was any gaps or like I run out of lights or anything, because that was not the look I was going for. I wanted it to be better and 100 times better than last year. And voila, the completed door. Now with this image in your head, I can only assume you can guess what the rest is going to look like. Now there is a little trick that you can use when you're putting on the tape, and that is to use some green 3M tape to cover the masking tape, because in the wet, rainy British weather the masking tape tends to go soggy, lose its stick and fall off, and obviously in turn all the lights come off. But if you put this green 3M tape on over the top, it acts like a water resistant layer, and it does actually work because I've tested it through 4 days of harsh British weather. Okay, so it's been a couple of days since I last spoke to you all, and as you can see it has rained a lot, but luckily all of our tape has stayed on, none of it's fallen off, and it's still all looking pretty good. So today we're going to be putting on this absolute behemoth set of lights. It's got 1,000 battery operated lights, 100 meters in length. That was 10 meters and 100 lights, so we've got 1,000 to go over the rest of the car. We're going to make it look really cool, but first we've got to dry off the car, because as you can tell probably by the fact there's a towel separating this cardboard box and the metal, it has rained a lot, it's quite soggy, so we need to really dry it off, otherwise nothing's going to stick to it and it's going to be an absolute fail. Last year I made the mistake of uploading this video too late, it absolutely failed, so this time obviously we're stepping up a notch, so we need to get this video done within plenty of time, just like I have when I wrapped up my Christmas presents. This is about the only sunny day this week, so yeah, I'm going to crack on and stop this nattering and yeah, get to work, because this has to be done. Okay, so as you can see by the piece that was pre-dried here, it is actually sticking, but then the piece that's already wet isn't sticking at all. As you can see, I'm struggling there. So what I'm going to use today is the drying towels that I use when I wash my car, so just the regular ones, the nice microfibers that hold a good amount of water to dry it off, and it has worked. So I've got about 3 of those that we're going to be using, and by the end of the video, they are all completely drenched. It was that wet, but as you can see, once we've dried it off, it does stick very, very, very well, and it is a great success. Now, what I did do after this little clip that you see here, a couple of days later I decided the lights didn't really patch up enough on that side. The door really showed them up as who was boss, essentially. So I went back and I covered over that fuel cap, and I covered over again just to add those last few lights that I had, because I wanted this car to look the best that I could do. And it was moving on to the back of the car, and as you can see, I've come up with the classic Christmas present wrapping trick, and I've stuck the masking tape to my spoiler, so I've got quite a few pieces prepped up, because when you're running around in the English rainy unpredictable weather, you do often really need to be getting this done quick. So as you can see, as we're talking about that, my dad's come in here and he's going to give us a hand with the green tape. But we're just going to continue on with this for a little bit, cut to a few more clips, and hopefully very, very soon we're going to have a great product, and you're going to really get the vision for how I want this to look. Right, what I'm showing you here is stuff that not many YouTubers would show you, and the fact that I had to move my car because I thought it would be a bright idea to park my car virtually in the bush. So we had to move it to actually get access to half of the car, otherwise this was going to be a complete fail. We were going to waste a lot of time, and a little bit later in the video I did accidentally run over my Christmas lights, so we don't talk about that. Let's forget about that. Just leave that as a Christmas myth, a bit like the Ghost of Christmas Past. Now, one thing I do want to mention is you do get a very, very, very short period when you're trying to do these cars, especially when you're working on plastic and metal, especially when it's silver, because even after you dry the car, you get a very limited window of maybe a minute or so before the condensation really starts just making that cold come back into the paint, and it just doesn't stick at all, even if like it's wet when it's not actually wet. So you've got to have that very, very, very like quick process. You've got to have everything prepped and ready to go, and if you've got a second person to help you out to dry it off and then you can stick, or the other way around, definitely call on them to help, because once I called on my dad to help, we got 10x the amount of stuff done in the same time frame as I was using on my own, and I wouldn't have got this video out on time without him. So yeah, big thank you to him for helping out, and make sure you use a friend or a family member when you're doing this, because it's just going to make life so much easier. Because you can probably see I've done the roof off camera and everything, but that's because all of this is just one giant web. I couldn't untangle it, so I just waxed it on the roof, spread it out and stuck it down the best I could. And so the other side's also been done off camera, so I didn't think you guys would want to see all of that over and over again. Okay, so after about 4 days and about 600 Christmas lights, the entire back of the car, the passenger side and half of the driver's side is completely done. So today we're on to the most fun bit, and that is to do the front of the car, because obviously, as you guys know, that is where the magic happens. That's the bit you're going to see on most of the cinematic videos. That's the bit that's got all the little crevices and everything. So that is basically the bit we have to get spot on. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so for this I did decide that I thought it would be a better idea than, rather than going straight across like I've done with the rest of the car, I kind of wanted to go down and do vertical lines as opposed to horizontal. I just thought it might create a better effect, and it would follow the lines of the car a bit better, because as you can see we've got the 3 like lines, and then the middle part is shaped in that sort of circular rounded off end of a vertical line. I thought if I follow the body shape of the bonnet a bit more, maybe this would look a little bit better with the lights. I think it turned out alright. I probably could use a few more lights in theory if I wanted to look even better or gone somewhere darker, but I want you guys in the comment section below to let me know what you think about it when you see the montage at the end, because I think it did really well. Now the bonnet itself probably was the hardest part to do, purely because of the amount of condensation and the fact that because it's the biggest surface it takes the most water on and the most rain. And where I've obviously sprayed the like protective water resistant spray onto the car when I've cleaned it before, that was sort of bubbling up and making it quite difficult to stick. So it did quite a lot of drying, and we just had to find a day where it was completely dry the whole day, and we let the car dry naturally, and after that it worked quite well. As for the underside, I wanted to create quite a nice effect inside of the grille, a little bit like an underglow if you will. I probably should have used a few more lights, but that's besides the point. But I wanted to stick them along this bottom piece because I thought it would just really make the car look a little bit nicer. It's those little subtle touches that really matter. I have to say, until you do this, you never truly understand just how many lights this takes. It is a lot. So if you do this, make sure you get enough lights and get a lot in abundance, more than you think you're going to need, because you are going to need a lot, and this isn't a particularly big car. And then using the last few lights, I thought it was very important that we filled out the big holes on the bonnet, so I just ran one final loop of it up over the top, stuck it across, and we had filled basically every little part of the car with about 10 centimetres gap in between, because that was what we had to make do with the lights we had left. Okay, so it's been a few hours and things were starting not to stick, but we have officially finished the car now, as you would have seen in that time lapse. But there's nothing better to do than what we did in the last video and run that cinematic.